Well, it's been a year since Hurricane Laura hit southwest Louisiana, and in that year, the resilience of Lake Charles has been championed time and time again. For every story of hardship, there's another story of how the community overcame it, and embodying this resilience is Ben Terry, the KPLC meteorologist who helped guide the city through their biggest challenge, all while facing his own.
We would hope that we never have to live through anything worse than Rita, but here we were staring down a storm that was going to be exponentially worse than Rita.
Hurricane warnings out for all of southwest Louisiana. Storm surge warnings out for Calcasieu. Jeff Davis.
After living here 10 years and seeing rapidly developing, intensifying hurricanes in the Gulf, it was always in the back of my mind, that it's going to happen eventually. One day, we're going to have to deal with a storm.
We're almost to a Category 3 hurricane now. Rapid intensification process is underway.
20 meteorologists on the Gulf Coast, the story of Laura was an all too familiar one.
With Harvey being an example of that, just seeing how quickly it intensified in the Gulf, that was one of the storms that will always stick out in my mind as being like, how did that happen?
That story is one of a hurricane intensifying quicker than expected, to a category stronger than expected. But this time, instead of watching the story, KPLC meteorologist Ben Terry would be a central character.
Minimal 4, but still a major hurricane as it moves its way toward our coast. I still expect a Category 4 upon landfall. I know
we live here just like everybody else that was watching the news. We have homes and families and pets and sons and daughters, and so we have to live here as well. So it's part, you become, you're in it, just like everybody else.
A new homeowner, Ben split his time in the hours leading to the storm, warning his viewers on air, as well as preparing his own house, and eventually, like many others, forced to evacuate in the middle of the broadcast.
We posted online that, we're getting out, and, I think that hit home for a lot of people that, okay, we need to leave. The meteorologist is getting out of town. It's time to go.
That decision to leave wasn't made lightly.
We need to leave. This is not a good idea. Whereas a meteorologist, you don't want to have to abandon ship because you feel like the captain leaving, at the most critical hour. You want to stay there for the storm. You don't want to have to leave you feel like you're abandoning your town or your audience. But it was a decision that had to be done, because we were not going to be safe there.
But as pictures started to emerge, it became clear that it was the right thing to do.
And one of the pictures that we saw was our tower that was collapsed. It was it was in the middle of the night, and you really couldn't see any details.
The tower had collapsed into the KPLC building, destroying the studio. And as day broke, the morning after, more devastation became clear.
Yeah, it was unbelievable living here for 10 years. You're always prepared for hurricanes, but you never would have expected to see that type of damage to your city. It was heartbreaking. It was like a gut punch. I remember breaking down literally on the floor of the newsroom at WAFB the next morning.
For Ben, that devastation would be personal.
You don't leave expecting to not have a home to come back to.
He had gotten word that his new house had been destroyed, like so many others. It wasn't until 2 days after the storm that he would have a chance to get back to Lake Charles. And for a month, KPLC did all of their reporting for Baton Rouge. For Ben, though, that wouldn't be the end of the bad news. As a crisis unfolded in the city, he would soon be faced with a much more personal crisis of his own.
So here we are at the end of hurricane season, and I'm thinking, the holidays are here. I can just lay back and relax and go home for a week or two and spend with the family and just enjoy Thanksgiving and go into the holidays. And then I find out the week before Thanksgiving, which is when I went in for that routine screening, that I have colon cancer.
That was Daniel Phillips reporting. In the next half hour, we're going to bring you the rest of Ben's story in the months after Laura and the battle that he's still facing.
He's a tough guy.
He really is.
I remember seeing the picture of his house, later that afternoon, and just,
And I think, Ben brings up a good point. Daniel brings up a good point. We're all from here. We live here. And this place is our home too. So while we're here, and you guys are trying to guide people through this, and we're all trying to guide people through this. We have families and homes that we worry about just as much.
And our community too, because, I remember, the times I've gone over to Lake Charles and just looked around and you're just like, wow, that could have been Lafayette.
Yep.
Or that could have been New Iberia. And you get familiar with what everything is supposed to look like, and then when it's devastated like that, it just breaks your heart.
Yeah. So you guys definitely want to stick around for the rest of that story. Well, the time now is 4:42, still to come on GMA.